As consumers in the luxury compact crossover market, you have a lot of choices to go with, whether it's the BMW X3, Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, Volvo XC60, Alfa Romeo Stelvio, Cadillac XT5, and there's probably a number of other candidates that I could be naming right now. But you probably notice that each vehicle has its own characteristics and personality, and that no two vehicles are alike. Now, last year I did feature the Audi Q5, but I didn't get to take it out for a test drive and fully experience it on that day. And that's why I am back to once again feature Audi's best-selling model. What Audi does with the Q5 is provide a good amount of interior comfort and really focus on technology and giving you a great package and value at a good price. And we're going to see if the Audi Q5 is one of the best vehicles you can buy in this market. Let's get a good idea of how this vehicle performs and how it compares to a BMW X3 or Alfa Romeo Stelvio. Now, of course, the Q5 is not known for its performance. This is a luxury crossover. Of course, if you want to have that exhilarating driving experience, you're going to want to go with the SQ5. The thing with the Q5 here is that you're looking at a 0 to 60 time of around 5.7 seconds, which actually sits higher up on the list of luxury crossovers in this segment. It's a bit quicker than the BMW X3, but everyone is quick to point out that when it comes to steering and handling, the Q5 isn't as dynamic, it isn't as engaging or as agile. However, Audi does a great job of differentiating their non-S and RS models and making them more luxurious, so that if you are looking for more of that laid-back driving experience, that you're going to want to go with the Q5 rather than the SQ5. But everyone says, oh, it's not as quick, it's not as engaging to drive compared to, say, an Alfa Romeo Stelvio, or even people are throwing out the Porsche Macan. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to be spending around $60,000 for a crossover and you're looking at a Porsche, you'd have to go with the S, and then you're looking at spending around $65,000. Whereas this Q5 is right around $55,000, $56,000, and you're saving money, but also, of course, you're getting that luxury, which is more important. Where the Q5 really stands out, though, in terms of its driving dynamics, is the fact that it's more daily drivable than, say, a BMW X3, which has known to really have a thick steering wheel with aggressive 10-2 positions if you opt for the M Sport package. Whereas this is a bit more suitable for the driver who's not looking to get thrown back in your seat. You're looking for smoothness, you're looking for softness of the suspension, and also that comfort aspect that maybe a bit more of an aggressive vehicle is not going to have, like an Alfa Romeo Stelvio. What buyers are really going to love about the Q5, and it really adds into the luxurious aspect, is the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, which pairs up very well with this turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And compared to, say, a Mercedes-Benz GLC, this transmission is far and away better. And I think that's one of the biggest issues I have with Mercedes-Benz products, especially on the consumer level and not really have that sports car driving dynamics, is the fact that their transmissions just aren't that good. They don't pair very well. When you do put it in sport mode, the GLC just feels really sluggish, whereas in dynamic mode with this 7-speed dual clutch, it just feels nice and balanced, and I think refined as well. Now, when you're looking at competitors in this price range, you're probably thinking the Mercedes-Benz GLC, Genesis GV70, and Volvo XC60. And what I'm going to say here is that most likely you are going to come back to the Q5, because the interior layout, in my mind, is far more intuitive than what you're going to find in a Volvo XC60. Also, I think you're going to like the technology as well. But also, when it comes to driving dynamics, it's not going to lull you to sleep like you're going to have with the Volvo XC60. Now, I have not driven a 4-cylinder GV70. However, when it comes to the interior quality, I think the Q5 is going to eke out the Genesis GV70. And then compared to the Mercedes-Benz GLC, it still comes down to the transmission, though. I think Mercedes-Benz could give the Audi Q5 a run for its money when it comes to technology. But when it comes to the driving dynamics, I actually am finding myself having a lot more fun behind the wheel of this crossover than the GLC 300 that I reviewed earlier this year. However, you certainly feel the softness of the suspension on this winding back road, so I feel the body roll. It's not something you're going to be throwing around in corners, and really having a engaging driving experience if you are going to be on winding back roads or up in the mountains somewhere. But this is really meant for that family-friendly driving where you're going to be taking your kids to school Monday through Friday, or maybe you're commuting to work. This is the vehicle you're going to want to do it in. It has that nice composed nature to it where you're not going to really be on the edge of your seat the entire time as you're driving, but also you're not going to get bored of this car either. I also think too that when it comes to the exterior design, it actually looks pretty nice, especially now for the 2022 model where the S-Line does come standard. So you get rid of the chrome accents or the brushed aluminum accents, and they have more of a dynamic look. When it comes to the seating though, they're not aggressively bolstered, but they do keep you in place. They are pretty comfortable, and on a longer drive, I don't think I get tired of it being behind the wheel of this vehicle. When it comes to ride height for the Q5, you do sit pretty high up in this vehicle, so you have a nice commanding feel as you're behind the wheel. Also, when it comes to what's in front of you, the hood does slant a little bit downwards, so you can see everything that's right in front of you, and it just gives you a lot of that safety that you're looking for with a crossover. Also, when it comes to the interior layout, what I really enjoy about the Q5 and other vehicles built in the MLB platform for Audi and also the Volkswagen family in general, such as the Porsche Macan, is the fact that you have a nice wide center console, and it gives you this cockpit feel while you're behind the wheel. Now, if you were to cross-shop this with, say, an Audi Q3, because I think you could do that. If you do have a budget around $55,000, you could make that upgrade. And with the Q5, you're going to have that center console where you feel a bit more secure, where you feel as though the dashboard and the interior wraps around you. And vehicles built on the MQB platform, such as the Q3, are not going to give you that. You're not going to have that center console where you feel like the vehicle is higher quality in terms of luxuriousness. So when we're talking about a vehicle priced around, $50,000, $60,000, the Q5 has that feeling to it. And if you're looking for that luxurious aspect, the Q5 is certainly going to give you that. What's really standing out to me after driving this vehicle around for about 20 minutes is just how quiet the cabin is. And in conjunction with just how smooth this vehicle drives. This is one of the smoothest crossovers in this segment that I have driven. Now, of course, I have not driven the 4-cylinder GV70, and the GV70 does prioritize luxury more than anything else, especially with the 4-cylinder. But compared to the BMW X3 and compared to the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300, this is certainly a standout for sure. You honestly feel like you're in a cocoon, and you just feel really safe and secure behind the wheel. And if you are commuting long distances during the week, this is just, to me, a great daily driver. More importantly though, if you are looking for a luxury crossover, one that's not going to give you tight and heavy steering or aggressive gear shifts, and you're just looking for a more relaxed driving environment, then the Q5 is certainly going to be up there and should be up there on your list of considerations. As I said, its closest competitors are going to be the Volvo XC60 and also the Mercedes-Benz GLC 300 in that regard. Obviously, if you're looking at an Alfa Romeo Stelvio, BMW X3, or even a Porsche Macan, because for some reason people do like putting that in the conversation, then the SQ5 is going to be probably the vehicle you're going to want to look at, because you're going to have the performance, you're going to have the handling, you're going to have the stiffer suspension. And to me, I feel like the Q5 differentiates itself where if you're that type of buyer that's just looking for comfort, you're just looking for quality and quietness behind the wheel, you don't want to hear the sound of the engine and the exhaust note, then the Q5 is going to be that option. You're not going to be looking at an SQ5. And that's what I like about Audi, is that they certainly do a great job with their lineup, where you feel like they have a vehicle for everyone. So you want to have that aggressive performance, you want to have that aggressive steering and then tight suspension, you go with the SQ5. You want to have something a little more softer, you go with the Q5. It just feels like Audi does a great job with their line compared to BMW, although I think BMW owners and buyers are a different breed. They want to have that tighter steering. They want to have that aggressive driving dynamics because, of course, it's the ultimate driving machine. But Audi, though, they really give you a nice cabin and cockpit where you have in my opinion, better technology, but also I think a better driving environment if you're just looking for a daily driver.